Hello, welcome to another one of my commentary videos. This is a rematch against the Brigade clan on the same map with the same factions. So right away I decide, since I've gotten this hillside, to go for a jeep. My dog all of a sudden wants to play, but anyway, screw you dog, there's video games, don't you know you're not as entertaining? Anyway, so I've gone for a jeep and I send that right up there as fast as possible, making sure to double click. If you didn't know, in this game, if you double click with a vehicle, it goes to its flank speed, or full speed. That's in comparison to a single click, where it'll go at a speed where soldiers can accompany it, can walk with it, basically. So as fast as I can, I send it up to this little hill, a foothill on the side of this bigger hill, because I know it's a good position for me to use my jeep to shoot at his point. However, I can't do much, it won't have much to shoot at until I send some infantry up there that will be able to spot his infantry. So, I brought up, in addition to my jeep, a light machine gun. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you may know that I tend to do this a lot. I really like the start of a jeep with a light machine gun. What you're able to do with it is use the jeep to take ground and then use the light machine gun to hold it effectively against any counterattack. So, bringing up some single bot riflemen as well as SMG guys up here in order to decap this flag, if possible. So right away I notice he has some infantry that my jeep can't spot, so I use the guy to throw some grenades. As you can see, when you throw grenades, it forces enemy infantry to stand up in order to dodge it, which will expose them to your heavy weapons. So using these two infantrymen, I'm able to push him off the flag and decap it. However, he's brought up a bazooka, excuse me, he's brought up a 222, which, as you know if you watch these videos, is a pretty standard counter. A lot of players tend to do this when they've been pushed off their starting flags. They get a 222 right away, as fast as possible. My jeep doesn't have much chance against that, so I'm going to try to run it to the middle, where it might be at least able to do a little bit of good. The gunner, however, didn't quite make the trip. So I tossed some smoke grenades. I'm hoping to intimidate my opponent to some degree, as well as provide a little bit of cover. And apparently it works, because he doesn't run up. Instead, he decides to go to the middle. I'm not sure if he's chasing my jeep or what. However, the middle player has also brought out a 222, so he comes back to my flag. However, the delay has allowed me to bring up my bazooka guy, which I had purchased a long time ago, but for some reason decided to stay in the spawn. So, I'm going to move my bazooka man over to the... apparently going to move him behind this house, because I don't have much hope of him being able to climb the hill. I still have a couple infantry up on the hill, however they don't last that long. I was trying to run them away, however one of them did manage to pop off the smoke grenade here for me. So noticing the 222's looking away, I brought my bazooka guy up. And he shoots and hits. A pretty lucky shot. It shows the power of smoke grenades. So with his 222 down, it's pretty clear that I can bring up a half-track now. I had bought partisans before, but for some reason they were just sitting there as well. So I load them up into the half-track to get both to the front as quickly as possible. In addition to the half-track, I'm bringing up an AT rifle, because believe it or not, even after bringing up two 222s, there's a good chance our opponent will bring up another 222 if they do lose this back flag. So I bring up an AT rifle as well as a bazooka, just to provide a little bit of redundancy. If you've played this game before, and if you've played this map before, you might not know it, but a lot of competitive players will really push this hillside hard. And the reason for that is because AT infantry weapons are so effective here, because tanks have to get in really short distance before they can engage in the infantry. You can see my allies engaging in a bit of witty banter in the background here, talking about what we need and what they're bringing up. I send this infantry to decap this flag if I can. However, he has an AT rifleman that he uses to take out my half-track. However, I'm able to use the conscripts or Volkssturm, or I guess it's recruits, I don't even know. I'm able to use them in order to toss enough grenades to push him off the flag a little bit where I can decap it. And like I predicted, my enemy has brought up another 222, which I begin to engage with the AT rifle, stunning it. At this point, I'm in a pretty good position. However, I noticed that I haven't brought up enough infantry. I was kind of expecting my half-track to live a bit longer and hopefully provide a bit of a counter. However, that didn't work out, so I have a whole bunch of anti-tank stuff and not a whole lot of anti-infantry. So I'm not going to be able to push this flag very well right now. Just shows you kind of the power of infantry. Anyway, so I'm hoping that he doesn't notice the same thing. However, he does. So he sends forth this squad of infantry that's going to push me off of this hill, which is unfortunate because the hill can be difficult to take. It's easy to hold, but difficult to take. I guess that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, so I run my AT infantry back behind the house. And the main reason for this isn't because I'm worried about losing them. I could lose any of these guys and it wouldn't be a big deal. However, I don't want to give them to the enemy as well. If the enemy gets a hold of my AT rifle or bazooka and kills my half-tracks as they come up, it would be very, very unfortunate for me. So, just like the previous game against the Brigade clan, I am saving for charge as well as a T-34-57. If you haven't watched the other video where we play the Brigade clan on this map, I recommend it. It's a good game as well, although it goes along a similar pace to this game. Anyway, so I'm bringing up my charge infantry right now. Setting up these back defenses because I don't want to get pushed off my point, and these will be useful if that ever gets close to happening. So right now I've got plenty of infantry. I brought up a jeep with 2 snipers in it, which I've unloaded far from the front, just to make sure that they don't get killed. So I'm pushing up with a T-34-57, as well as Fusseljack is assisting me with T-34-76. So I make sure I have a decent screen of infantry in front of my tank and use the built-in coaxial machine guns on my tank to push forward on this hill. You need to make sure whenever you're pushing that you always have infantry about at least 30 to 40 yards in front of your tank like this. The reason for this is that's the range of AT weapons. So you don't want your enemy to get any free shots off at your tanks with AT weapons. So make sure you cover them well with infantry. Just like in real life, tanks and infantry work really well together. If you're wondering, if you're kind of new to this game and you're wondering how to become a more effective player for whatever reason, my best advice to you is play a lot of games really infantry heavy. You really don't even need tanks in this game if you're a really good player. And if you want proof of that, you can watch some of Instinct's videos where the emphasis is definitely not on tanks, it's on infantry. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. But infantry is definitely uniquely powerful in Assault Squad in comparison to even the original vanilla. So I brought up another half-track as well as my 57 here. My 57 has been disabled by an H in the middle. However, it's just the turret damage and I moved it behind this hill, so he's not going to be able to get any more shots at it, hopefully. In the meantime, I'm setting up AT weapons, because with my 57 disabled, I need to be able to stop any tanks that come up the hill to try to finish it off. So my half-track's doing really well right now. It's fending off a lot of this infantry. I've put it in a position here behind this other half-track, thinking that it'll be decently well protected against any sort of AT rifle. My enemies brought up a Goliath, but the Bazooka Man's in a good position to counter that. However, I think using Goliaths on this hill is a great idea, so definitely props to my opponent. In addition to a Goliath, he's brought up a pack, which has the first shell loaded as an HE shell, apparently, and the crew injures my tank. And the second shell is an AP shell, but it glances off the side. Very unlucky for him. And at the same time, my turret is repaired, so it's able to HE round the Pack 40. Definitely a lucky strain of events for me. No complaints here. So I send up a half-track to try and steal the Pack 40. I don't think I'm going to be very successful here, but it's worth the attempt. In the meantime, I brought forth a squad of the elite infantry that Russia gets, which are the Red Guard. Just like America, these soldiers come with 2 bazookas as well as 2 light machine guns and high weapon skill. As you can see, I set them up in these back positions. And unfortunately, my T-34-57 takes a side hit from a Panzer IV-H, which is in the middle. My ally in the middle having been pushed back a little bit, so the H is able to get a good shot. But with the elite infantry I just bought, I'm able to use the bazookas in there to kill the Panzer III that my enemy brought up, as well as run out and use an AT grenade to finish off the Pack 40. So you can hear my allies talking about tactics a little bit here, what tanks we're going to need. It's always good to have a tank out in the field, if you can, to easily counter 222s, etc. But as you may notice in this game, I'm very focused on this right hand side. I'm not spending a lot of time focusing on the middle. And the reason for this is partly because this is how I like to play, and partly because if you don't do this, then the middle just becomes a giant cluster beep, and it's not that much fun, in my opinion, because then just flak after flak gets brought up, and I don't know. I like spreading out forces a little bit, and you can kind of set the pace, set the initiative when you do this. Because it doesn't even matter if they hold the middle. As long as I hold this point and my allies hold their base point, we're still taking up points. So they have to attack me there on this hill. They do not have a choice. So because of that, I'm able to put a whole bunch of infantry AT weapons and make it as hard for them as possible, which has been pretty effective in this game. You can see my opponents brought up some Volkssturm here, using them to kind of scout out and push my defenses. However, my elite infantries, even if they are just bazooka men, are going to be able to hold these guys off as long as they have access to sandbags. So instead of bringing in another charge, I've decided to bring in the Guards rifle, which is another 2-point counter that the Soviets get. It's a really interesting unit because it comes with 2 AT rifles, which can be really fantastic against some factions, especially Germany when you see so many light 222s, etc. So I decided to get that because of the 2 AT rifles are going to be useful, hopefully, against the 222s that are going to be coming up this hill. So I set one of the Guards rifle LMGs up on this hill and another over on this left-hand side, where I'm about to move this guy right here. So the reason I'm doing this is because on this left-hand side, the light machine guns are able to shoot up the hill, meaning that there's no way they can capture the point. If you can hold the right-hand side and the left-hand side, just like the other map, they're going to be unable to capture the point until they take those 2 points, or one of the 2 points from here. So my enemies brought up a light machine gun here, which I'm going to shoot down using the light machine gun that the elite infantry came with. So right now I'm just spreading out my infantry, making sure that I have all of my AT infantry in good positions, as well as my light machine guns in good positions to kill any approaching forces. So using one of the Guards rifles I previously purchased, I pull out the AT rifle and get a nice side shot on that 222. The AT rifles that the Guards rifles come with seem to be really good, so a good unit to mess around with if you get a chance. So crawling forward, he's able to get a couple infantry onto this point because I have my light machine gunner ducking down for some reason. However, as soon as that's fixed, I should be able to recap this point. My enemy spawned another vehicle, which I'm going to try to counter here. Again, my strategy is going to be very heavily AT infantry oriented. I haven't said it before, but my allies in this game are Fusseljack, as well as Eva Beatrice, and myself, Micah B, and our opponents are the Brigade clan, which is Brigade Shaft, Johnny, and GRF Steiner. So using my bazooka man, I attempt to get a couple good shots off. One is killed by the coaxial machine gun and one misses, so not the best outcome, but I'm still holding him off the flag, so no worries. I bring up another special hero point charge, just to keep the infantry stream coming. You never want to be without infantry. If you are, then you're probably losing. So I try to get a guy on the flag here to cap it. As you can see, I've got tons and tons of points, and I could save for an IS-2, but it's going to do more harm than good, because I won't be able to get a whole lot of infantry then. I'll be CP capped. So instead, I decide to mess around with a IS-1, just because it has fantastic armor, which is useful in close-in engagements, because they'll have to get a heavy tank to kill it, and it has a gun that in close-in engagements is as good as a Tiger's, so it's going to be great on this hill. So I bring it forward, as well as the charge. At this point, we're in a very favorable position. We've been in control of the majority of the flags the whole game. So with the combination of the IS-2 and the charge push, it's basically pretty much game over for our opponents. I would be very surprised if they came back at this point. Another attempt with a bazooka guy right there. Right over the top, GRF Steiner doing a great job dodging with this P3J. So, even though there's about 25 points left, our opponents have lost most of their heavy tanks and are unable to push. So I'm going to call it as a good game. It's a good game to our opponents. Thanks so much for the match. Hopefully we get a chance to play you guys again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed my commentary.
lässt sich umbringen. Vision.